we read the story of the Nativity in the Gospels, we discover the very nature of Almighty God. Matthew chapter 2. As the sun rises, we are reminded of the wise men. They were following the star. It took them to Jerusalem. When they arrived to Jerusalem, they went to the king and said, "We're looking for the Messiah. The king is going to be born. We've been following this star." The wise men waited upon King Herod, who called upon the religious leaders. Again, they were asked, "Where is the King of Kings going to be born?" They quoted Micah chapter 5, verse 2. We are discovering the very nature of God in the Nativity story. You see, in Micah chapter 5, verse 2, 700 years earlier, the prophet prophesied that the Messiah would be born in a small village 5 miles south of Jerusalem, Bethlehem. Bethlehem, where Ruth and Naomi would call home. And Ruth would marry Boaz, and they would have a son. And from one generation to the other, Bethlehem takes hold until eventually King David is born. And now we're in the story of Matthew chapter 2, only discover that Micah wrote that from something very small, Bethlehem, would come something very great. Bethlehem was a nothing. It was a small little village. There were shepherds like David as a boy. There were people like Boaz that had fields that they raised wheat or barley. And now we come to this part of the story, where the wise men learn that from this little town of Bethlehem would come the great ruler, the Messiah prophetically spoke of. I'm out in Rio Linda, Alberta, and I am reminded that Rio Linda and Alberta are not like San Francisco or Los Angeles or New York City. It's a small community, not a lot of people. But from this small little community is hidden a farm that very few people know about. I know about it because I follow wildlife. And just near me is a sturgeon farm. And this sturgeon farm produces sturgeon that they harvest the caviar. And what most people don't know from this little bitty community of Rio Linda or Alberta is the largest production globally of sturgeon caviar. Imagine that. In our own backyard, people go by here all the time and they don't recognize the multi-million-dollar influence that the city of Rio Linda in Alberta has around the world. That's Bethlehem. If I said the name of Billy Graham, you would recognize him. But he grew up in a small farming community in North Carolina. It was a nothing, just a farming community, small little place. They had no idea that he would become the world's greatest evangelist of our generation. What am I saying? I'm saying the story of the Nativity reveals to us that God uses those little things, like the little shepherd boy, or the 5 loaves that were brought to Christ from the little boy with 2 fish. I'm saying the Bible speaks to our heart that never dismiss something because it is humble or small. Don't underestimate the city of Rio Linda in Alberta. Don't underestimate a small town in North Carolina. Don't underestimate how God uses the smallest things in the greatest way. The Messiah in Luke chapter 2 is born in the city of Bethlehem.